Hello, and welcome to Better Betting. Here are your hosts, the king of Timonium, Gary Quill, and the ruler of the replays, Eric Rubin.
Hey, and welcome to Better Betting. My name is Eric Rubin, and I'm here with my partner, the king of Timonium, Gary Quill. GQ, how be you?
September, just finished the Big T meet, and now it is NFL season. But I'm using reverse psychology. By the time anybody watches this, they'll know whether or not the Ravens won or lost. But I'm in a loser survivor. Horse racing friend, Michael Horvath runs it. And I always try to save the horrible teams, which is stupid because I usually flame out before I ever use them. So I'm thinking, all right, reverse psychology. I'll use the Ravens tonight. This is Thursday night football. We're recording this. No, you think they can beat the Chiefs? It's the old Super Bowl champ opening at home, unless you were the Baltimore Ravens and they screw you and make you start your week one on the road. That's what they did to the Ravens the one year after they won the Super Bowl. Traditionally, it's home team. Whatever. We have things to do, races to talk about. So yeah. I haven't committed to it yet. It's online. I can change it up until 10 minutes before game time, but it's it would suck sitting there rooting against your team in the first game, but it would also suck every time you play Patrick Mahomes and Mr. Taylor Swift. Seeing them win would doubly make it so. Whatever. All right, so let's move on. We're at Kentucky Downs again, and you wish to start off or talk about something over the past week? You're back to work. You're among everyone.
Yeah, I'm working stiff again. I have to go back out now after we done with this. It's a long day. I'll be home at 9:30 tonight. Miss half the game, but yeah, football season. Excited for my Jets. Got that over under on Aaron Rodgers games played at 2.5. What do you got? 2.5.
For what?
Aaron Rodgers games played this season.
Oh shit! Is it 2.5? Really?
No, that's my line. Yeah.
Well, weren't you the one who said that you missed the first 15 minutes of the game last year?
No, that wasn't. No,
you didn't. Somebody told
that wasn't me.
They were a Jets fan and they missed the first series. By the time they turned on TV, Rodgers was already hurt.
Can't be a big Jet fan. They missed the first 15 minutes of the season. But no, anyway, yeah, I don't expect much. The difference is this year we have a good backup. Last year we had no plan B. So we'll see.
Well, last year you also didn't have an offensive line. Has that changed?
Yeah, yes and no. They have an offensive line now that's probably average to above average. Well, average, maybe a little above. The problem is they're guys who get hurt all the time. So they have an injury history. So their top two guys play 4 games a season. And once they go down, then Aaron Rodgers goes down if he hasn't yet. And then it's a shit show. So we'll see. I'm not very optimistic. I know they have a lot of talent on paper, and I'm hoping they do well and they're capable, but I'm not expecting too much. So,
well, as my JV basketball coach once, the way he could only give a pep talk before a game started, say, on paper you should beat these guys, but the game isn't played on paper. So
very inspirational.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So
when I was coaching JV. You might have been great coach. Go ahead. Let's get started on the races. Kentucky Down. What do you got for us?
Oh, okay. I thought.
Oh, yeah, more. Go more.
No. I thought you wanted to talk more about it, but no. Okay.
I'm good.
We'll get started. Okay. Kentucky Downs. We're going to talk about the last or the late pick 5 on Saturday, September 7th, and that starts. The first leg is race 8, which is a 1-mile turf event. Grade 3 Mint Millions, which is appropriately named because the purse is $2 million. So, Eric, let's talk about that. What do you got?
All right. I am going to share my screen with those of you who are watching. on YouTube. Thank you. If you're listening, we
Yeah.
thank you.
and
We'll try and make it not so painful for you
Cool.
listening. Anyway, so yeah, this race is interesting. And one of the things here, maybe I'll show first, is the pace of the race. If I go to the time form pace projector, it should show a very fast pace, I would think. And it's showing a fast pace in red there with the 11-6 on the lead with the 7-8 chasing them. So just looking who the 11 and 6 are. The 11 would be, you can probably turn your pages quicker, Goliad, who just wired the field last week at Kentucky Downs. Strong Quality, the 6, who had the lead at Saratoga in the 4-star Dave, a grade 1. And then you have other speed with the 7, Fantastic Again. And the 8 horse, they're saying, is Talk of the Nation, who also has speed. So I don't know how it's going to play out. Obviously, last weekend and last week, speed was very good at Kentucky Downs. You really didn't want to be too far back. I know you probably didn't watch today, and I didn't really watch today. I skimmed through the replays quickly. Oh, you're putting your finger up like you did watch.
Yeah, actually, when I was eating lunch, I watched right before the first race when Gabby Gaudet was talking, saying they've had the temporary rail out, so speed was prevalent. But I think starting today, which was Thursday, they took the temporary rails out, so now they're against the lower rail, so maybe that might be conducive to closers. Who knows?
I don't know, but usually when they take the rails down, for those who don't know what that means basically the inside part of the turf course they weren't using, and now they move the rails in. So now they're using the inside part. And as a result, it's grass that was not kind of torn up and chewed up and run on. So you can actually see when you watch the races, if they take the rails down often, especially the first day, you'll see it's a lot greener and lusher on the inside. And usually, not always, but usually that means it's a better part of the turf to run on. So there's an advantage. But again, you guys can watch the replays from Thursday. And luckily, this is a race 8 on Saturday. So you have 7 races to watch if you want to see how the track's playing. Like last week, some of my picks ended up changing a little because of the way the track was playing. I wasn't going to go with closers that I liked, like Data Man I loved, and I wasn't going to use Data Man the way the track was playing. Anyway, so getting to this race 8 on Saturday, there's a few horses from a class standpoint that I think that are important to talk about. One is the 8 Talk of the Nation, who I'll scroll. Oh, let me go back to the regular formulator PPs. And Talk of the Nation is the 8 horse who's been running in tough competition. It's 4-year-old, was running against some of the better 3-year-olds. I'm trying to stall by talking slow until I get there. Fortunately, I got to scroll 8 miles. Page down doesn't work for some reason. There we go. So you can see, I just lost it. Grade 1. Where are we?
Arlington Million.
Yeah, Arlington Million had been running against Carl Spackler, I think, right? Yeah, so ran against Carl Spackler a couple of races ago. Grade 1 race last time. It's a horse who's been running in very good competition. The only thing I would say about this horse is it's a horse I really liked as a 3-year-old. And he's good, don't get me wrong. But I don't know, he's had pretty good trips overall this year. In fact, I downgraded most of his efforts this year. I thought the 94 buyer he got in the poker, he got with a very good trip. He stalked Ice Chocolate, who stole the race. There was no pace in that race. Ice Chocolate was a closer, went to the lead. That race stole it. But Talk of the Nation was right up on that slow pace. Ice Chocolate won. Talk of the Nation couldn't hold on for even second. And then the Kelso, he just kind of stole or tried to steal that one. Carl Spackler actually sat a little off of him, knowing there was no speed. That's not Carl's game. And Carl playing Talk of the Nation's game, meaning Carl Spackler was playing more of a speed game than he doesn't do. He was still able to beat him. So he kind of blew that easy lead, albeit to a really good horse who would be the big favorite in this race. Arlington Million, I don't know. It was probably too far, so I don't want to hold it against him a mile and a quarter. I kind of ignored that race. So to me, class-wise, he fits, but I don't love him in this spot here, especially if he's going to be the favorite. So I'm kind of against the 8 for the most part. Now, I'm going to be singling a long shot, so I don't mind throwing him in a little bit because it's not like he's a heavy, heavy favorite if he is the favorite. In fact, the morning line has the 12 horse, the 10 horse. Ancient Rome is the favorite. Ancient Rome coming over from Europe, ran at Colonial last time against Talk of the Nation, beat that foe by 3/4 of a length, broke a little slow that day and was kind of awkward. but that's the second time in a row, at least, that this horse, Ancient Rome, is broken slow, the 10 horse. Maybe last race was too far for Ancient Rome too. More of a, run better races going a mile, but I shouldn't say that because won a mile and a quarter at Goodwood last year. Has a win on this track last year as well. Ran well that day. Was the race at Kentucky Downs on September 2nd of last year for Ancient Rome was 3 wide. It's on a pace that held. But he held well to win that race. He wasn't being passed or anything. So he ran well. So I'm not like anti-Ancient Rome. I'm not in love with him as a favorite. I'd prefer him probably to Talk of the Nation if I had to pick one of them. There's a horse in here I kind of like, and I'll go over him and then I'll throw it to you, GQ, and then maybe talk about one or two others. A horse who I actually contemplated singling. I might on some tickets, like press or single this horse. And I'm going all the way to the top. That's Emmanuel the One. Horse I've liked for a long time. It's a horse when he runs in grade 3 races like it is today, runs really well. Typically, he wins them. He's had 6 grade 3 races on the turf. He's won 4 of them. So he's 4 for 6 in grade 3 races. He has not run a Kentucky Downs, so that's something to, worry about. But his last 2 starts, I really think he's had significant excuses. 2 back in the Arlington race at Churchill, the grade 3, he was bumped hard at the start and was well back and really taken out of his game. Now, he did very little running, but he got taken out of his game that day. So I can give him an excuse for that bad start. And in the last race, what did I write down? He was really hard. There's a horse who likes to show a little speed. He was held hard big time. He showed speed, got out well, and then was like pulled back. Maybe because they were trying to get the mile and 3/8 distance, which is not his thing. So I can ignore last race or even upgrade it based on the fact that he ran well at a distance, probably not his distance, grabbed back at the beginning. And I thought the race also favored speed, the United Nations. I didn't think there was much pace there. So I thought the fact that he closed into that was good. And it was a grade 2, albeit maybe not the strongest grade 2, but a grade 2. So to me, Emmanuel is an upgrade over his last 2 races. And that puts him, to me, right amongst the winners. He has speed enough that he can stay close if he wants to or needs to, Jose Ortiz. So I know you're going to tell me Irad's off the horse, don't bet him, all that. But again, I don't go for that. If nothing else, it was a Pletcher horse, and now he's running for Mike Maker. So maybe the jockey change is simply Maker being in Kentucky. Jose Ortiz is now based in Kentucky. He wants to use the jockey he's going to be using a lot more. So who knows about why Irad's not on him. But I like Emmanuel the most, almost enough to single him. There are 2 other horses that I don't have to talk long about, but I did want to mention. But GQ, I'll throw it back to you for any comments on what I said or anything you see in this race before I wrap it up.
All I want to do is I don't want to meet the Equibase chart caller who is working at Colonial Downs. If you look at Ancient Rome, the 10 horse.
Yep.
The short comment, knifed between, nailed, and geez. Boy, talk about anger issues. Isn't that politically incorrect? Knifed and nailed. Anyway, I digress. Was the 7 horse Fantastic Again a horse you were going to mention?
I did want to talk about him, so feel free if you want.
I'll just lead you in by saying, I mean, you toss out 2 years ago, not competing or being outclassed or outrun or whatever in the Breeders' Cup Futurity at Keeneland, which was actually on the dirt. I mean, after that, the horse answers every call, no matter what level the horse is running at. So you can take it from there.
Well, I was just going to say that this is a horse who he ran really, really well last time. Forget the 100 buyer because I'm not a huge speed figure fan, especially on the turf per se, but still 100 buyer. And I would upgrade that. He was trading leads with Goliad. He was basically, I wouldn't call it a duel, but he went to the lead. Then Goliad took the lead. Then he came back on Goliad and took the lead, I think. And then they caught him. And Goliad faded to, I don't know, I don't want to go to his PPs, but he faded like 7th, 8th, something like that. And Goliad, forget about the fact that Goliad came back to win last week. He won because it was a easy lead on a track that was playing the speed. So I'm not a Goliad fan unless it's playing that way again, but there's a lot of speed. My one fear about Fantastic Again is there's so much speed in here. Now, it looks like he can sit a little bit, and that's why I like him. Ward going long is not I mean, it's a mile. It's not really long, but Ward going long a mile or further is 14% with 3-year-olds and up turf route. So 14% for Ward, not his specialty, but I'm looking at how the horse ran. So the negative is, Ward's not known for this. The negative is there's a lot of speed. The negative is there's a layoff to deal with. The positive is he ran amazing and he can rate also. So to me, he's a horse. If I'm not singling Emmanuel, I definitely want to use Fantastic. You want to go on or?
No, I don't have anything more to add. I kind of liked how the horse was very game, and no matter where they put him at on the turf, he's right there. So if we want to move on to
Yeah, I'm just going to mention the last horse is the 2 I want to use, and that's Mountain Bear. I'll try and go real quick. Sorry. I know I say that and I go for long, but I will. It's taking longer to just scroll to them than anything else. So this is Aidan O'Brien, Dettori's riding. I thought he ran well last time. It was kind of an even race, didn't favor closers or speed horse. I thought at Leopardstown last time, but ran well in a grade 3. The race last year that he came to the States for, it was a Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Put up an 83 buyer. Remember, that's as a 2-year-old. And I thought he ran really well. He had a slow start on his own, so hopefully that's not an issue. 2-length slow start. He was 2 wide, maybe 2 to 3 wide in the second turn. And then he had to swing really wide late on the turn. I thought the race was kind of even as far as whether it favored closers or speed, didn't really matter. But I just thought swinging out really wide after that slow start and not saving ground at all. I thought he did really well. And, he slowly kind of, if you throw out the race at Curragh, whatever it's called, 2 back, he ran really well last time. So I think there's always rounding into form, and he is a closer, which there's so much speed in the race. So, I'm a little worried about Kentucky Downs closer, but with all the speed and, the track seems to be playing a little more fair today. He's a horse I want to use. So I want to use a 1, 2, 7, 8, 10. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 7, 10. And then the 8, I'd have to think about talking to the nations if I want to throw in another chalk. And Cash Equity, the 4, I thought I might throw in the long shot too. I just upgraded his last performance. I thought he hopped at the start, the 4 Cash Equity, and he had to alter in the stretch also. And he was behind Goliad, where you had to be closer on the lead. He had no chance that race. So I can throw that race out for him and actually upgrade it. So I think Cash Equity has a chance. So I'm going to go like 4 or 5 deep here in this race to start the pick 5. And Emmanuel will definitely be my key. Now I'm done. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to leg 2, which is race 9 at Kentucky Downs, 6.5 furlongs. It is the grade 1 Aristocrat Franklin Simpson Stakes for $2 million. Field of 12, and the horse name of the card, I don't even have to look at all the other ones. It's the 10 horse, Howard Wolowitz. You know who Howard Wolowitz is?
I do know who Howard Wolowitz is, but I don't think of speed when I think of Howard Wolowitz.
No, well, speed
brains maybe, but not speed.
Speed as far as trying to think that he's a ladies' man, but
yes, that's true.
For those who are saying who in the hell is Howard Wolowitz, he was a character on the Big Bang Theory TV show. So
that is correct. All right. So a few things about this race. I'm going to start the first few, and then GQ is going to start the last couple races. Couple things. First of all, it's rare because I'm from New York, following New York racing a lot, to see races with a lot of speed. This is another one with a lot of speed. And a lot of these horses last race, I think this race, the next race, they're coming back from Kentucky Downs like a week rest. Like they ran last week. They're coming right back. I wouldn't worry about that personally too much because you have to assume the trainer thinks that they're capable of doing it if they're bringing them back quickly, or else they wouldn't do it. I'm sure the fact that purses are so high, they're, taking a stab when they wouldn't, but I'm not that worried about that. What I'm more worried about is I think they were like, hey, speed is so good. I got a speed horse. Let me throw it like Goliad. Let me just throw him right back in there and see if we can do something. And it just came up with a lot of speed, all these races. So, we'll see what happens. But a lot of these horses are coming out of the Mahoney Sprint or the Mahoney Stakes at Saratoga. There's got to be like 3 or 4 or 5 horses coming out of that race. And I thought maybe we'd watch a replay of that race. Yellow Card, the 4 was one of the horses. So if we click on this race for those watching, you'll see that the Apollo 10 was the 4 that day. Howard Wolowitz, the previously mentioned, was the 2 that day. Yellow Card was the 3 that day. Mansa Musa was the 7 that day. So there are 4 of them coming out, I think, unless there was one that finished in the back. I want to focus on Yellow Card the most. Maybe we'll talk about the others also. But I want to focus on Yellow Card the most, who was the 3 horse. So as we watch the replay, I might skip. I really don't want to skip too much. Hopefully you guys can see it at home. You already see the 3 is the Red Silks here. He already got squeezed back a little at the start. So he's right there. Actually, he stumbled at the start if I went for the head on. So it wasn't that he was squeezed. And he was really checking the whole first half of the race. You're looking at the jockey in red. Again, it might not be that easy to see. You're on a small screen, but here he's still checking. He's still on heels. He's not saving ground. He's still checking. He's still hard held, shuffled back there. So he really had a tough race. And it's going to continue really until eventually now, finally, halfway through the race, or more than halfway, he finally has some room to run and gets towards the rail. But if you look at how the race is being run, there's really not much speed. Fandom's on the lead. Carson's run is second. And they kind of, and Apollo is 10 is third at a price. And, they kind of stay there. No one's really closing. And here is the 3-horse again, right here in red. He's gaining on them. Now someone's going to outgain him, but he made up a lot of ground. Those top 4 were basically there the whole way. And that's why I upgraded him a lot in this race. And, looking at this race, the jockey in the white cap there on the rail, that's Howard Wolowitz, the 2-horse in this race. And for those listening and can't see, he saved ground the whole way. And now around the 8th pole or the 16th pole they're getting to, he has nowhere to run. And he's just kind of stuck behind horses for the last, what was that? A little more than a 16th of a mile. So close to an 1/8 of a mile. The only thing about Howard Wolowitz is he saved all the ground during that race and he was in a great spot. So yeah, would he have won? Probably. He would have won with like a perfect trip though. So that's where I'm iffy on Howard Wolowitz. This was like that Wardhouse. Remember that Wardhouse horse we saw last week, GQ? It was a race where we covered at Saratoga, like on our first show back or something, where we bet against him as a favorite as a 1-horse. And he had a troubled trip. He saved ground and kind of got stuck. He raced last week in Kentucky Downs, that horse. He was a 7-horse. I forgot the name. And I don't think he had a great race and he was bet to being the favorite because everyone saw the trouble and, he couldn't run. I have a feeling the same thing with Howard Wolowitz, where everyone's going to see that he had that trouble and bet him out of that. And he really had a perfect trip up until that point. So I'm not anti Howard Wolowitz. I'm just anti he's going to get overbet. And I really think Fandom ran great that day. Not a yellow card. I'm sorry, ran great that day for the reasons I mentioned. And 2-back, he ran really well too. He was squeezed back at the start significantly, and speed was good again. And there's a horse that shows speed. So he can show speed if he wants to, yellow card, meaning if he gets out without trouble. And yeah, last time was his fault a little bit with his stumble, but 2 times ago, it wasn't really his fault. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying I really like the 4 yellow card. The morning line, I don't want to like make fun of kill anyone, but the morning line, you might as well just, throw darts and stuff. If I get 15-1 on yellow card, I will be betting all the money that I have in my accounts and bank account. There's no way I'm getting 15-1 on yellow card. If I do, I'm wrong, and I'm going to be very happily wrong. But yellow card is the worst on. In fact, I'm going to single on a lot of pick 5s, yellow card. He's going to be my main single here, if not any pick 5, I bet. So I'm all with yellow card. There are a couple more to mention, and I'll mention some out of that race too. But GQ, did you want to jump in at all, whether it's about yellow card or someone else?
Well, the amazing thing is there's 12 horses in this field. They're all 3-year-olds. There's only one where actually none have even raced in a grade 1. The 2 horses raced in a group 1, talking semantics. So it's like, are they really grade 1? I hate, 3-year-old strictly 3-year-olds. I don't see, that they're throwing a grade 1 around like it's a big deal. I don't know. Maybe it just came up light. Maybe the best of the 3-year-old turf horses don't want to run 6.5 furlongs, but I can't blame you for a yellow card, and I just have a hard time finding horses who are they're all supposedly going up in class, going up to this grade 1. So with that being said, no, I need to point out, ding, 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 second time blinkers on the 9-horse, 20-1, vote no. So if anything else, I mean, the horse is 1-for-1 at Kentucky Downs, 1-for-1 at this distance. Yeah, I mean, coming from Hawthorne and Prescott doesn't impress anybody, but you're looking back, he ran at Keeneland in a grade two. So just for the sake of pointing out second time blinkers, which is my thing and nobody else's, I'll give him a shot.
Yeah, I mean, he ran well in Kentucky Downs. He ran really well in that Keeneland race. I mean, I have a big plus upgrade on his Keeneland race in October when he got the 76 buyer there as a 2-year-old. And then I guess you can make excuses for him. He was on the synthetic, and even though he had that one big figure on the synthetic, maybe that's not his thing. Last race was yielding, going long, so I don't know. I don't love him, but I wouldn't knock him. And if I went really deep, I would use the 9. We're talking about Vote No, but that's not, necessarily my cup of tea, but I'm not anti Vote No, especially at a big price. Do you want me to keep going, or you want to get back in?
I'm going to have to add up after you drew attention to the morning line or whatever. I can't believe all these odds in this race actually add up. They're supposed to add up when you're, giving it to you. So I'll have to do that after.
Yeah, I tend to think you're correct. There's like a point system that morning line or most morning line makers, I would think the good ones use, where it adds up to a certain amount, the odds. And if you're not adding up to that amount, you're probably not going to be right totally because you're giving too short odds, too long odds. So I'll mention a couple horses. I guess that means you didn't want to say any more right now.
No, I'm done.
So Evade, the 2 horse, I'm not totally against, but this is a horse who never breaks. Finally, last race, he broke and he duels on the lead with a 5-1 shot who came in second to last. He came in 6 out of 6. There were only 6 horses in the race at Chester. And the other horse came in 5th at 5-1. So, he was up on a solid pace that kind of, I don't want to say collapsed, but, came apart a little bit. But he never breaks. There's a lot of speed in the race. I'm not anti. He did race in some Group 1. So I don't know. I don't love him. That's why I'm not shy singling Yellow Card and King Yellow Card. But, Evade's a horse to think about. And then just the couple others that come out of the race with Yellow Card. The 11, Mansa Musa. This is a horse. I don't know if you know GQ, you might. I know some of our friends know. I'm a huge Star Mystery fan. I was on this horse. I think was it Belmont weekend where she ran and she came in 3rd to Cogburn, I think, where I loved her that day. I think I singled her that day and she had not an ideal trip. I don't know if she would be Cogburn, but it would have been close. I think Cogburn set all kinds of records that day and the buyer was huge. So to me, Star Mystery, even though she's a filly here, is a monster. And this horse came in 2nd to her and ran a nice race. It wasn't just like a suck up 2nd or something like that, Mansa Musa. And then the next time, really came up a little short in the Mahoney last time. Now, Mansa Musa, the 11, ran 3 wide in that race, and there really wasn't much pace as we showed in the replay. So I can excuse that a little. Plus, maybe that other race took something out of it. So I can see people saying, it was one race. Just because she came 2nd to a big, a great horse, got a big figure. You take out that figure, the horse doesn't fit Mansa Musa. Or I can see, wide, no pace last time. Maybe, took a little starch out of her the race before. Now she's ready to run. So I kind of, the odds are going to depend on it. 4-1's a little short for me, but if that's what it is. But, Mansa Musa, I think, has a shot. We already mentioned Howard Wallowitz, who definitely has a shot. I would tend to lean against at a short price, but I'm not totally against just because, like I said, I had a great trip up until that trouble. And the winner of that Mahoney got a 93. So if Howard Wallowitz would have won, maybe would have got a 93, 94 buyer with like a perfect ground saving trip. And I would have been against Howard Wallowitz, but then he would have been the favorite definitely if he got that. So, I'm a little against, but I don't hate. And the only other horse I want to mention is the 8 horse, Please Advise, who is 8-1 in the morning line for what it's worth. Flavian Pratt, George Weaver. He ran great here. You might not think it, but if you go back to that September 13th race, the juvenile sprint at Kentucky Downs, that Vote No won, Hedwig, the 1 horse we didn't mention, came in 2nd. This horse came in 3rd. And I'm not going to show the replay because it was a year ago, but was checked significantly at the start, was bumped on the turn when trying to make a move, was 2 to 3 wide in the stretch when the inside was probably good because I think they took the rails down. And that was a great, great race. And what I like about it is the races around it, if you look before, after, don't look that, they look similar, but when you upgrade that juvenile sprint, where I did big time, ran his best race at Kentucky Downs as a 2-year-old, in my opinion. Maybe the Atlantic Beach, I didn't watch it at Aqueduct at the end, but by then getting a little older. So this horse ran great here. And I didn't love his Hall of Fame race. Maybe it was, wants to go a little shorter. I don't know. Perhaps the mile's a little long, but it was against some good horses. Need is a nice horse. So I can excuse that one. And, based on the horse for the course, especially I'm getting at least 8-1, hopefully. Please Advise would be my other horse. So I'm kind of like 4 yellow card big time. 8 would be next. And then I guess like Mansa Moose, the 11, possibly the 2 Evade, the 10 Howard Wallowitz. Those are the main ones I'd be looking at. Not that Hedwig, the 1, Joe Shiesty with Lot Speed, the 7, and Vote No, the 1 you mentioned. That's why I was going real deep. But there's a race I'm going to take a stand. When you're betting a pick 5, like to me, it's like, all right, do I have a good feel for this race? And if so, am I taking a stand with like 1 horse? It might be 3 deep in a 12-horse field, but am I taking a stand this race? Or am I like, I'm not really sure. I'm going to spread and hopefully try and beat the chalk. And this is a race where I'm going to take a stand where I'm really just using yellow card in the 4 and maybe like the 8 or 1 or 2 others at most, but most likely singling on all or most tickets. GQ, sorry I talked so long.
No, that's okay. I'll just, before we lead into the third one, when you were talking about Evade, notice that the horse was gelded after his last start. It's just a pet peeve of mine when the talking heads and they talk about horses that were just gelded. They'll always say, first time gelding. And it was like, is there a second time that a horse can be gelded? I don't think so. So it just, that's a pet peeve of mine.
You've never heard of a horse with a superfluous second penis or second set of testicles, no? Like Krusty the Clown in Seinfeld, Krusty the Clown had the superfluous third nipple. They don't have superfluous 3 and 4 balls.
Krusty the Clown in Seinfeld?
It's not Seinfeld. The Simpsons. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
That would have been quite the sight to see Krusty the Clown in Seinfeld, but I
Yes.
understood where you're coming from.
Thank you. I apologize.
Okay, let's move on to the 10th race. 10th race, the middle leg of the late pick 5 is a field of 11 going 1 1/2 mile on the turf. It's a grade 2 FanDuel TV Kentucky Turf Cup Stakes. Once again, $2 million. And the morning line favorite, if you trust this morning line favorite, is quite the favorite. 8-5 is Integration, the 2 horse. Are you buying or selling Integration?
I don't know. I mean, normally I would say buy. The price is really short though. If that's the odds, and he will be pretty short. So
right. Yeah.
I looked at this race a couple of days ago. So honestly, with the morning line, I didn't write down what I think exactly, but I don't think that's way off per se, like some of the others. So anyway, I'm gonna take a small stand this race also. Race 1, I might take a stand a little bit with Emmanuel, but I'm generally going to spread like 4 or 5 deep. Again, on some bets, I'll single Emmanuel, I'll press with Emmanuel. Race 9, the second leg, I'm going to single, go very shallow, even if I don't single, yellow card. Race 10, this is a race where I'm going to take a moderate stand. I'm not going to go very deep here, probably 3 deep. And I'll start with Integration. I am going to use Integration. One thing, I put the time face projector up. The pace should be pretty good if it all pans out. Again, you have a lot of speed in the race and not shown on the pace projector. Oh, no, they did show. Oh, you know why they show it? Because he ran in the US, I guess? No. They usually don't put, am I in the wrong race? I'm on the wrong race.
You're in the wrong race.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, Tawny Port showing as the fastest horse? All right, thank you. Yes, this makes more sense. So it's still shown as a fast pace, race 10. They have the 4 on the lead. This is a time form pace projector. We'll give them credit. And Get Smoking on the lead. The other horse they show with speed, the 8 Balladeer, who literally just goes to the front every time he races, and the 5 horse Sugoi, who's been going to the front every time he races, including his last race at Colonia. He was right up front. And then you also have in that field the 10 horse they're listing, Grand Sonata, who I don't know if that's really speed, but I don't get that one. But the other horse who's not shown because the European is the 11, Chief Little Rock, who, again, we don't know how European speed equates, but Chief Little Rock is a speed horse coming over from Europe. So I'll start with Integration, the 2 horse. Listen, I didn't upgrade or downgrade the races. I thought he got, decent enough trips. It wasn't like amazing trips, right? Like that. Why can't I find what I'm looking for? There we go. So I just think on the class angle alone, this horse has been running against some good horses. Grade 1 horses. So, to me, I think Integration is going to run well. The only thing is, how short a price do you want Integration? Like I said, I'm singling a price horse. I'm, I'm probably going to leave out some other chalks. So I'm going to use Integration, and I'm going to use two other horses here. Highway Robber, the one horse, who I hope I get more than 6-1 on, but I might not. I don't know, just because of Loveberry, if nothing else, the connections. This is a horse who I thought ran really well last time. So he's been running at a mile mostly. And again, what was this? A mile and a half, right? So he
One
goes
and a
up.
half, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So the distance is going to be a big question mark here. But, when he ran a mile and an eighth earlier, he seemed to finish pretty well back at Ellis a year ago. And then he finally goes out to a mile and a quarter last time. I thought he ran really well. He had a slow start by one length. He always kind of gets out to a slow start. So you're not going to get a great break from Highway Robber. And he won going away. Saved ground first turn, went 3 wide the second turn. It's not like an average trip. It was an okay trip. A little wide on the second turn, but he won going away. One thing I like to look at is how the horses are finishing, and he's running against a couple of these. He finished strong. Like they could have gone around again. It looked like he could have won. So I'm not that concerned about the stretch out too much. I mean, you always have to be concerned, but you never know. But I think Highway Robber ran really well last time. I think maybe this is what he wants to do. Maybe a mile and a half is too far. We'll find out, but at least a mile and a quarter. So I like Highway Robber. And then the other horse that I am going to use, other than the 1-2, is the 9 horse, who is Anglophile. And I'm scrolling to him now. You know what Anglophile means? Should I put you on the spot? Test your vocabulary? A lover of, I guess, the English, right? Anglo-Saxon English.
Okay.
And phile is love, right? Like from philo or phil, which is that Latin or Greek? I'm not sure.
Probably Greek.
Anyway, Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. My social studies background's coming out now. Anyway, Anglophile. Why do I like him? He came out of the same race as Highway Robber last time, going a mile and a quarter. And I thought he ran really well too. He was closing best in the stretch. So while the one Highway Robber, finished really strong and held well, Anglophile by far made up the most ground in the race. I think there's a lot of speed here. It's not like he's a deep closer. He has to be way back. So it's not like he's got to come from 15 lengths back or something like that. So I thought he fit in here. He ran well at Kentucky Downs. Like people see he had a win. He didn't have a good trip that day when he won at Kentucky Downs last September. And is that the Dogwood Derby? Maybe, I don't remember. But ran well despite, saving ground, being on a good part of the track. Farbridge, who we just saw come back and win a grade 1. And it's a long time from then, but he was running against a good horse there. So I think this horse has a good shot here. Anglophile, the 9 horse with Brian Lynch. Is Lynch also the 1? Oh, so I got both Brian Lynches, the 1 and the 9, and I got Shug. So I got some good trainers there. And those are the 3 that I want to use. I'll talk about the 11 quickly, then I'll throw to you. And, if there's anyone else you want to mention, we can, or we can move on. Chief Little Rock, because I watch all these European replays. So 2 back, there was no replay. I searched everywhere and I could not find a replay. I found highlights of the race where they show the stretch, and he was up by like 5 lengths toward the, I don't know, his top of the stretch, but with an eighth of a mile to go, he was up by 5 lengths already. So he apparently, I think it says made virtually all. I guess that means almost all. So he basically went to the front and wired the field. I did watch last race, the grade 2 race at Ascot, and I thought the race favored closers, and he was running against older horses, which you like in that race. I thought he was running against older. Oh, now he's against older. That's what my comment was. Oh, you don't like that. My bad. But last race at Ascot, I know he finished awful. He was 12th by 37, but it was a tough race. The winner of that race, Callan Dagan, I guess if you say it like that, he came back to run second to City of Troy, we mentioned last week, who was considered probably the best horse in Europe, and maybe like Breeders' Cup, is it Classic or Turf, whatever he's going to run in. So he ran against a monster last time, Chief Little Rock. And also, it was probably too far. Well, I shouldn't say that because that's this race. Not bad. It wasn't that. What I want to write. Oh, the speed fell apart. That was my other comment. Sorry, I looked at the wrong thing. So it really was a race that kind of fell apart. It was a really fast pace, and eventually he kind of just gave up. So I'm okay with the 11, Chief Little Rock. There are other speeds in here, but I don't think he needs the lead, although he seems to go to the lead a lot. So that would be the other horse if I add. I know he's not a big price, but that would be the other horse I added if I went 4 deep in here. And Kentucky Downs, when you have 12 horses a race, it's not like you're adding 4 to 5, 3 to 5 shots every race. I'm okay being a little more chalky and adding some chalks that I kind of like, but I don't love, especially if I'm singling a price horse or using a lot of prices elsewhere. So normally that's not good advice, but maybe it still isn't good advice, but I'm a little more apt to do it here at Kentucky Downs with the big fields. Anyway, GQ, you want to jump in?
Sure. It's funny. It seems like a lot of these races, you got the returning champ, the horse that won last year, is competing in here. Not that that's segueing into wanting to talk about Get Smoky, because I don't like talking about horses that just go out on lead and stay there, because yeah, you see your horse on top and know, is he going to hold on? But if he doesn't get out of the gate, then you're screwed from the start. So that's why I tend not to go for speed horses, even though like
Oh,
in here you had mentioned that there's other speed, but
I,
there's so many times you look at the form, it's like, oh, well, it's going to be a speed duel. Horse goes out on top by 3 or 4 in a distance race and nobody challenges them. So, but I'm not going there. I'm looking at a 30-1 shot, 6-horse King Curlin. I mean, in these type of races where it's more than the distance, it's close to a marathon, a mile and a half. I like to look for horses who've run that distance, and King Curlin's run it 3 times, actually, going back second, third, and fourth races back. Now he's made a huge jump. He's just broke his maiden last year, and took a while to get past the one other then. And then he came back in the spring trying, and he's picking up small checks or whatever. But I think this is the right spot for this horse to possibly break through, just because there are others in here who've never gone that distance. Not to say they can't, but Kentucky Downs seems to tend to, you get prices from elsewhere. Chris Amy's been riding forever, and he's got the mount here. So yeah, the horse lost a highway robbery, and Angelo as you mentioned, and Segul 2 races back. But who knows? Maybe he's slowly rounding into form after a couple short layoffs. So go big or go home with the 6-horse King Curlin for me.
all right. I wouldn't knock a long shot 30-1 or more pick, so I'm not going to knock it. I don't see it. I'm not using the horse, but I'm not going to talk you off it or even try. That's fine. A lot of horses are coming out of the United Nations race at Monmouth, and I think all of them have an outside shot. But I'm not in love. I'm going to take a stand. Like I said, 1, 2, 9, maybe the 11. And just, I almost croaked over here. I don't know if you saw my facial reaction when you said something about not betting speed. That's like how you win in horse racing. But I think, to clarify, perhaps like need the lead types you're reluctant to take. Would that be accurate? Or are you telling me you just don't bet horses with speed? Because then I'm going to lose.
No. I'm talking about a horse who, if the horse is going to win, needs to be
right. Okay, that makes sense.
On the lead early. So as soon as they come out of the gate, you know your fate if the horse is not on the lead. That's my only detriment for horses that need the lead.
All right, that's better. You want to move us on?
Yeah, sure. So let's go to the 4th leg. It's race 11, which is a 6-furlong grade 2 Ainsworth Turf Sprint for, once again, $2 million seems to be the theme of the day on Saturday at Kentucky Downs. And we have a field of 13. Well,
12,
actually
yeah.
12 with 1 AE. I landed on the 3-horse, which should be a horse you like based on the name, One Timer, the hockey player that you are. And I think 8-1's rather generous for this horse, but because he's moving into the grade 2, but he's running grade 2s 3 times in the past, and he's hit the board all 3 times, winning, running second, running third. His speed figures based on Brisnet continue to climb. My only concern, and you mentioned a race or 2 back, is he's coming back. He just ran last week. Now it's only 6 furlongs, so that really doesn't bother me. And like you said, these trainers / owners are either feeling the horse is fit or they're just trying to get the money while the getting's good. So that's what one of my top picks, the three. And I'll just quickly also mention, as you had mentioned, if I get 30-1 on Gear Jockey, then I'll empty my betting account on Gear Jockey for 30-1. And you can't forget about Cogburn. Cogburn 6-5. You know, Will, I know he was in a race that we did or was supposed to run in a race in July or August that we did at Saratoga and scratch. So, but he hasn't missed a beat as far as his work pattern. So maybe they just figured they'd save him for this spot.
It was rained off the turf, that race. That's why he didn't win.
Okay.
It might have been called the
That
Troy,
answers it.
actually. I think it was called the Troy, but I might be wrong with the name.
Okay.
Were you still going, or you want me to jump
No,
in?
so I'm done. I got
So-
3-1-4 is mine.
All right. And, the question, when you study a race, everyone does it differently, but, especially when there's a heavy favorite, Cogburn will be less than 6-5. I have to imagine it'll be 3-5, 4-5. You have to take a stand one way or the other with the favorite. Either you like the favorite and you're willing to take that price, or you're trying to beat that favorite. And this is why I messaged GQ yesterday, I think it was, and I don't know this race. Like normally if this was 5.5 furlongs at Keeneland or Saratoga, I would just single Cogburn, he wins, move on. But it's not 5.5 furlongs, it's 6 furlongs. And that scares me a little with Cogburn. He's on the dirt, he's run 6 furlongs. And he won one of them in allowance race, right? Or two of them allowance optional claiming. So maybe he should get the distance. Only an extra half a furlong. He won so easily. If they would have gone 6 furlongs the last couple of races, he would have won. So maybe I shouldn't be worried. It's also Kentucky Downs 6 furlongs, which often Kentucky Downs with up and down and up and down. You come to the end, you're going up with a little. It's hard to get the distance often. But the other thing is he ran at Kentucky Downs last year. And it might not look bad, but I didn't think he ran very well on September 9th last year at Kentucky Downs. He basically had a perfect trip and couldn't do anything. And the other horses, you mentioned Gear Jockey. Gear Jockey in that race, I thought ran well. I didn't upgrade it, but I thought he ran well. I thought they actually favored speed a little bit. There wasn't much pace. So he ran fine. I thought One Timer actually ran the best race out of the turf sprint last year, that September 9th race that we're talking about from last year. I thought One Timer ran the best. He came in second by a head or whatever it says. And he was shuffled back early and then kind of rushed up with leaders. And he was also going by. He was with the leaders early, then got shuffled back. So instead of being up close like he wanted to in a slow pace, he got shuffled back, had to make up for that by coming, making a big move. And he was going by Gear Jockey at the wire. So One Timer is the best horse out of that race, I thought. You mentioned some things about him. I just don't know. I don't worry about the week off or whatever. That could have even been a prep for all we know. I don't think so, but it could have been for this spot. Or maybe they were just saying, all right, if he runs well. I mean, listen, he won last time because he was up on a relatively slow pace on a speed favoring track that was a much lower level, even though Recipe Red's a stakes horse. I don't know if he still is. So I like One Timer, I guess, but I just don't know what to do with Cogburn. The positives are he's by far the best horse in the race, in my opinion, on a neutral turf course going 5.5 by far. The downside is maybe he just doesn't love Kentucky Downs. It's a little far. So luckily I have 48 hours. Again, I would never be hired by a TV show or one of the, like you do the prattle before the race at Timonium. They'll probably never hire me for a lot of reasons. But one is, like, if I don't have an opinion, I don't want to make it up. I just don't know what to do at this point at Cogburn. I got to decide. I have strong opinions the first 3 legs. This one, I'm not sure. Some of the other horses I'll mention quickly, though, that I like if I don't single Cogburn or use Cogburn at all. Kadeem, the 8 horse, who is the second choice here I want to talk about. This is another horse who, I think is going to run well, but I don't know for sure. So 2 back, I mean, he's been running against Group 1 horses in Europe, in Britain and France. Last time in France, he ran against Lazat, who is a 6-for-6 horse now, including Grade 1 win. So he ran against a really good horse. This Kadeem, the 8 last race. He was bumped hard at the start of that race. He often gets a slow start, so he's not a great breaker, but this was not his fault this time. And he was rank early. And the other thing is, maybe he wants firm ground. Like if you look, some of the races where he really didn't show up are soft ground, like good soft last time, I guess. He came in 10th. I thought there was another one going back. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could have sworn I saw it.
Soft, he was 10th
Oh,
or ninth by 10.
yeah. So, I mean, again, but he's run okay on some good soft and soft turf. So, I don't, you know, I don't know. I can excuse his race a little bit last time, maybe for the soft turf and all that. And he was bumped and all in rank. I don't know, a short price. So do I want? I'm so torn. So that's why this race I don't feel good about. I was happy you kind of talked about it first. I'm not going to repeat what you said. We mentioned the 3 one-timer. Gear Jockey, I like. The layoff is you're not getting 30-1, but the only question about Gear Jockey is the layoff. His last race, even though it was a long time, he was totally checked out of that race. It was a Breeders' Cup turf sprint. So just toss that race totally. If he's ready, he can do it. Gear Jockey, I mean, he kind of needed a race 2 years ago, and last year he ran well off of layoffs. So I don't, he can do it. It's a tough spot. Whatever, right? 1, 3, 10, 11 were the others I mentioned. So again, I'm not really going to talk much. Oh, no balls, the 10 horse, which is one of the greatest names ever. It's not a very nice name, but naming a gelding no balls. But anyway, and I like how some announcers, I think your boy Dave Rodman was calling him nobles or something like that, right? And then I'm pretty sure he ran at Laurel, right?
Yeah.
Oh, who was he calling? Remember there was a horse with an inappropriate name he was calling? He was afraid.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It escapes me, but yeah, I even text Dave. I said, "Come on, Dave, you have to call it the horse by its correct name." He goes, "I like my job."
Yeah, I forgot. It had like a name that if you said it was like inappropriate, and then
yes, very much so.
He made it totally.
Oh, it was Bloom.
Oh,
Blome.
Very good. Thank you. I knew.
Out of Blofeld,
You can imagine BOLME, what the inappropriate term was. We'll try and keep it G-rated. But he would say Blome or whatever. What did he say? Was that what he said?
He would just say Bloom.
Oh, Bloom. Okay. So anyway, they do call him, at least Travis Stone, I think it was that I heard, whoever it was, called him no balls. Maybe Frank Miramati called him no balls. So I was against no balls last time when he ran at Saratoga. I was at Monmouth that day. I remember with our friend Tom and a few other people. And I was against, that's where I lost. I'm not exaggerating, 5 figures because Our Shot lost by a nose that race. If he gets up, 5 figures plus. I was so upset. And then Our Shot just lost by a nose the other day. The race is on closing day at Saratoga, but luckily I had, no one cares what I had, but I had the winner, Big Invasion anyway I used. I just would have had more with Our Shot. So it wasn't the end of the world. And I actually did finally well the last weekend there. But anyway, so no balls. I just think he needed the last race. That's why I was against him. It had to be a prep, you would think, and he's run really well in the past. So I do like no balls. The distance concerns me too with him, the 6 furlongs. I don't know though. So I'm a little torn on him. If he's a short price, I don't really want him, but 8-1, 9-1, he becomes more palatable. And then the other horse who I'm a little torn on, but he's a bigger price, is Witty. I don't know if he'll be 20-1. I hope so, but I loved Witty's race 2 back in the Highlander at Woodbine. He closed into a race. I mean, he didn't come way back, but he made up ground in a race that really favored speed. There was no pace. Filo Di Ariana is a horse who runs in graded stakes. Came back to win a grade 1 or grade 2 up in Woodbine. I forgot. My only problem with Witty is, and I don't think the distance, 6 furlongs you can question. He hasn't won at that distance, but I don't think it'll kill him because he was finishing well at Woodbine at 6 furlongs. So I'm not that worried about 6 furlongs. My concern is last race, I didn't think he ran great. He kind of had a pretty good trip last time and it favored closers. I guess he was a little outside at time, and it does say bumped at the break or something like that, but I didn't broke back. I didn't think he had trouble at the start, but there does appear to be a lot of speed. I loved his race 2 back, so I'm going to give Witty another shot. So I would say like one-timer and Witty 3 and the 11 would probably be my 2 main horse here if I don't go with Cogburn. But we kind of mentioned a lot. Again, I'm sorry I can't help you that much. GQ gave you a few horses. What were the ones you liked again? The 1, 3, and 4?
3, 1, 4.
All right. So again, we're not here to just give you horses.
We're pretty much in the same ballpark.
Yeah, the horses
you like
I don't
one-timer and Gear Jockey.
Yeah, no, I definitely would like to. So here's the deal real quick, because I want to move on. When you have a big favorite like Cogburn, the smart thing generally is, and it depends what you do in other legs, but in general, if it's a pick 5, you're singling that horse or you're trying to beat that horse and you're going really deep. Anyone you think has a shot if you can to beat him, because Cogburn is going to be the most singled horse I would think in this sequence, because there really is no heavy favorite Maybe that 2-horse, the Shug horse integration, but there is a European who's going to take money. So I think Cogburn will be the most singled horse here. So that's more reason to try and beat the horse, unless you just think you can't. Same thing vertically, like with Cogburn. Either you really like Cogburn, you think he's going to win, you want to put him on top of your vertical bets, and then find hopefully a price or two to put with him at least, or you want to toss him and spread. Like if I didn't like Cogburn at all, and I'm torn, but if I was like I'm against Cogburn, I wouldn't even mind boxing 5 horses at their prices here. 6 horses I would box. And then I narrow down the one, if I keyed on Witty, let's say I key him more. So if he's in the mix, I have it for like $3 or $4 or $5 or more instead of just $1. But, imagine it comes in your 6 horse at 30 to 1 and Witty. And, I didn't bet it, even though, I thought they had a shot. So if I don't like Cogburn, I'm spreading big here. But I'm torn. I got to decide if I'm going to, single Cogburn or if I'm going to try and beat. Either way, I'm not going to go that deep maybe. So I don't know. But I should go pretty deep to beat him if I do.
Well, it's good to hear that you said these last 2 races you really didn't get too far into them.
I know. I told GQ I wasn't going to talk a lot about the last 2, and then I talked a lot. Sorry, that's just me. I try.
Okay, let's go to
Find me on the last one.
Last race on Saturday, Kentucky Downs in the late pick 5. The race 12 is an exciting 1 mile maiden race for boy, they're really going cheap with these maiden races. $170,000 for a maiden race. It's for maidens 3-year-olds and upward. There's 16 entered. No more than 12 will run. And I may have landed on the wrong speed horse. I like, and there are 3 horses I like, and I'll quickly talk about for in the interest of time, interest of you getting to your appointment. The 12 horse, I like, based on so far where's that speed figures? Thornbury, the 12, 6 to 1 morning line. The rest of these horses in here, and I think there's a first time or 2. There isn't a lot of speed outside of probably the horse that will probably get the lead easily and go gate the wire, and you can scroll all the way back up to the 1 horse who is Firefight. Ran 5.5 furlongs at Ellis Park. I mean, look at those fractions at Ellis Park on 5.5, and just steadied at the 8th and then tired. But the horse is cut out to go a distance. The horse isn't a sprinter. So I think there's a lot of foundation there to move forward. And without a lot of speed early, if the 12 doesn't decide to go with Firefight, maybe Firefight should be my top pick, not the 12. Now, the reason why is because the speed figure on this came back a little light as far as I was concerned, but maybe you might want to talk about that more when you go. Other than that, I'm going with also the 10 horse, who is Forever Maiden so far, 1 for 11, but I see the horse. The 1 mile is best on the turf, even though he ran a mile back in March. Last time he was in a race. I think coming off this layoff, maybe they hopefully figured him out. He always runs honestly. And both of his 1 mile races going back to Ellis Park a year ago, and then even further back at Meadowlands, he didn't show speed, which in a way is kind of good, and just came on. He might be a career maiden. I might be barking up the wrong tree, but Kitten's Joy out of AP Indy Mare is all turf, and that's why he's at least there, but maybe a little late on the scene. And then go to the 2 horse, 12 to 1 morning line, Lose Legacy. This horse seems to be a one pace, 1 run type of horse, and finally gets on the turf after wanting to get on the turf 2 back at Ellis, and it was rained off. If that synthetic at Turfway back in March and May can translate to the turf, I think he's got a shot to make some noise at a price. So 12, 10, 2, but maybe it's all about the one.
All right. Thank you. Just to touch on the one to respond, he did have significant trouble in that race late. He was getting a perfect trip, and then late on the turn, he was held up. I'm not going to show the replay, but and then he was blocked at the 8th pole. And I don't know how much he had left at that point, if he was going by or anything, but it definitely hurt him. He would have been closer. And he does have speed. Keneally doesn't have great numbers with these stretch outs here. So not big sample size from what I looked up, but I don't know. I'm torn on the one. If I'm torn, he's not a big price. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like. Oh, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
No, the right there it shows sprinter out. Keneally's only 7%.
Yeah, and
positive.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I wrote 0 for 5. I don't know what I did exactly. I probably, what I did? I did second time starter, 3-year-old and up on the turf, sprint to a route. So it's obviously much more specialized. So it's a small sample. I don't know for, but the set you point out, sprinter, he's not good at that. So, I don't know. His mom was a sprinter, Cachet, if that's how you say it, was a sprinter. Warfront can get a horse to go a mile easily, but I don't know. I'm torn on 5. If it wasn't for lone speed, I'd be, or possible lone speed, I'd be concerned. I don't really love the other horses. Yes, the 12 I like, so I shouldn't say that. And that was the first one you mentioned. I do like the 12, which is Mont Alvarado, which is one of the combinations I've loved for a long time, but that's not why I like the horse. I upgraded his last start. He got in a duel with a big long shot. It was like 45 to 1. It was probably too long, that race, a mile and 3/16. And if you want numbers, I'm not a big stats guy. I don't rattle them off too often on this show, but Bill Mott, 25%. Similar layoffs with a 219 ROI. And I just thought the horse was up on a fast pace. He doesn't need the lead, though. So I can't see him going to the lead here, the 12, unless he's like really fresh off the layoff or something like that. But I think can sit somewhat close if he needs to. And definitely like the 12. And remember, a lot of people don't understand Kentucky Downs. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but if I'm not mistaken, they kind of make like a right turn at this trip before they make the left turn. So being the 12 post, you're actually saving ground a little bit early. And then you got time to, hopefully work your way over and not get caught too wide. Plus, it's such a wide course, going 1 or 2 wide, it's not the end of the world going a little, it's not like a sharp turn at Pimlico or something where you go 3 wide and you're giving up a lot of ground. So I definitely like the 12. The other horse you didn't mention, I don't know if I'm surprised or not, maybe I'm not, was the 3, Chad Brown. I don't think I'm getting 6 to 1 on this horse. I hope so. But I mean, it's a lot of guessing. Yeah. Go ahead.
My own comment to myself was, it's like Klarovich, Chad Brown, it's got to be turf, but it's like, so why did he debut on the turf, on the dirt at Ellis Park? So is he a Chad second stringer?
I don't like to guess those. I understand what you're saying, and people, surmise. I don't like to guess because I have no idea, but there is a 170,000 maiden purses, you said. So maybe, hey, let's get him a start at Ellis. We'd almost rather he not win. So instead of breaking his maiden for 70,000, we can win on the turf where he's meant to be for 170,000. I don't know if that's the case, but that definitely could be the case. This horse had a nightmare trip his first start. 3-length slow start, then was checked, was very rank. He had no shot. I know he didn't do any running, it looks like, but he had no start. He had it's just a toss to me, and it was good that he got some experience. Chad Brown, 17% with a 248 ROI. Second time out on the turf, sprint to route, I believe. And I got to sneeze, so give me a second. Say something about Chad Brown.
They paid 400. They paid 400,000 for him. And it's a typical. Chad's going to take money just because he's got a horse on the turf.
And just to jump back and thank you for that. Omaha Beach does fine. And 10% turf route. He's also 1 for 29, I think. Omaha Beach first out, if I wrote that correctly. So now second out. Listen, in a race where I thought it was very weak for the level, like I didn't like anyone that much. If I'm liking the 12 and I don't love the 12, then it's weak. So I think the 3 has a very good shot here. Irad Chat. I don't know if you're getting 6 to 1 in this field. I think you're getting a lot shorter than that, but I'm hoping, at least 7 to 2 or something like that. I don't even know if I'll get that, but if I can get that, I'm happy. Or not happy, but I'm okay with it in the pick 5. So I'm going to lean a lot on the 3, some 12. The 7 with Brendan Walsh. He's he's pretty good first out going long, 15%, 219 ROI, and the field is weak. So why not take the new face? So that's one that I thought about. And then the other one that I thought about was the 9, the other Ortiz. Ron Crichton is very good with this move too. 3-year-old, second off a layoff. He's 23%. I thought the horse ran pretty well. First start, he went 5 furlongs, probably too short, needed a race, whatever. So I can toss that. Next race, looks like he might have an easy lead, but he really didn't. He was pressed a little bit in that race, not like an all-out duel, the 9-horse B+, but in his second start in December, I thought he ran pretty well, and he was a 2-year-old still, just starting to get close to his 3-year-old year. So, I thought it was pretty good. And in the last race, I didn't think he ran that well. He had a slow start again, and he saved all the ground in the world, though. But, again, it was a layoff. He probably needed the race, and I'm not saying they were prepping him definitely for this spot, but, perhaps it was a little bit of that, and I think the 9 is a chance. So, I'm on the 3 mostly. And the other horses I would consider the 7, 9, 12. And then the one that's throwing me for the loop is the 1 that you mentioned. That could be the Lone Speed that did have some trouble. So I got to decide if I want 4 deep or 5 deep. I don't think, maybe I'll bend a little extra if it's not too much money just to the 3 secured lender. But otherwise, I'm about 4 deep, 5 deep here. All right.
Yeah. I mean, the only other one that I originally looked at was the 11 Publicity, 12-1 morning line. But I backed off only because, hadn't run since June and just one published workout. I'd rather see maybe a couple, leading up to today. But the reason why I liked it was because of the short comment when started its career at Indiana Downs, coming back on the dirt in for a tag, just kind of, I don't know what they were doing there just to get a race in for the horse. But I initially liked him and then backed off. Did you have any opinion on him?
No, I mean, again, I don't want to talk people off horses, especially at their prices. It was fine first start, hopped at the start, only lost like maybe a length. It wasn't like a horrible thing. Ran fine for a first time starter. I don't think it's as good a horses in Indiana there, but not terrible. And, I don't like that they dropped him for a tag. It's just not for me. I'm not using, but I can say, again, when you're betting, this race doesn't have, I don't think, a heavy favorite per se. So it's tough. If there was like a big favorite that I didn't like and you said, throw in the 11. All right, maybe I'll throw him. I mean, I wouldn't, but I can see throwing him in. But, to me in a race where there's no like big favorite I'm playing against, I personally don't want him. But again, not going to talk anyone off of him, I hope. All right.
Okay.
We good?
All right, so that's it for this week. I think we ran about an hour plus.
Yeah, I said I wanted to talk and I did again. I have a problem.
But no, so I'll turn it back to you. Saratoga's done. This is last weekend for Kentucky Downs, so we're gonna have to find somewhere else to talk about racing.
Are they not running next weekend? Is this it? Just this weekend
For some
and then
reason,
once
I
during the
thought it was
week or
a
something?
short meet.
Well,
I
it's
could be
7
wrong.
days. I think they had 3 already or 4 already. Oh, you're probably right. 2 over the weekend and maybe 1 like Wednesday or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
All right, we'll figure something out for next week. Maybe New York's back or we can go somewhere else, but we'll talk about it. Good luck to everyone out there. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. The last I checked, the weather was good in Kentucky Downs, although that was yesterday, so things change, but hopefully we get good weather and you have an enjoyable weekend. Wish you a lot of luck. Ta-ta.